My dad was an extreme baker. He was really kind of ahead of his time with the products he was making, whole grain breads, alternative sugars and shortenings and stuff, and instead of lard and all the stuff, the white flour that they were using in those days. He was trying to change the world his own little way, and he nobody really cared in those days about that stuff. It wasn't that big a deal. My dad, his only customers in those days were pretty much hippies, and my dad was not a fan of hippies, so but he's very, very conservative like that, and so he was just way ahead of his time, and nobody was really cared, and I was one of those people who didn't care at that time.
Mm-hmm. I think that's fascinating. I grew up seeing your dad working hard in the bakery, and what did you take away? You said you didn't care that much. What were you doing?
Well, when I was really young, I did. I thought this was really cool, and I wanted to be part of it. And, I did that for quite a few years, grew up in the business, but I was having some emotional, mental issues. I needed some help for depression, and there wasn't that much help out there in those days that I knew of. And, my dad actually had some issues too, and I think that was, the deal. My dad actually never did recover, did get help for his depression, and I think he might have been bipolar if you want to put a label on it.
Yeah.
And that's where I was too. I grew up that way. We had a really weird life. I thought our family was just crazy in a sense. Really good, honest people, but crazy in that we didn't really fit in, and he was extremely that way. He just was he did things totally on his own. I guess you'd say he was a maverick, but he also was really hard to get along with, and so I grew up that way, and I just couldn't wait to get away from it. And but I did learn a few things on the way.
Mm-hmm. Like what, for example?
Well, like hard work, of course, the work ethic that he did teach us. He certainly must have given me some of my creative ability, because even though later on I developed skills that contributed to Dave's Killer Bread, I actually, some of the things that I learned in those days stayed with me, and they became part of that process too. So yeah, I learned a lot of things, but the problem was I couldn't focus on anything because I was so busy. I had no self-esteem, if you will. I just thought I was born to lose. I thought I was depressed because life was bad. I didn't realize that life was kind of bad because I was depressed. The first way I treated it was with the first successful, if you will, and I hold up my fingers.
Air bunnies.
A quote. The first successful attempt, at least momentarily successful, was methamphetamine. It just wiped that depression out of the way,
right.
And I was able to focus on things even though they weren't good things.
Yeah.
And so I eventually went to prison over and over again. It was a really crazy time. I was pretty much just like, going for broke. There was nothing to lose, so I just kept going that direction, and I was fairly successful, if you can call it that, criminal. But not when you do 15 years in prison. There's no success there, right? But I learned a lot from that. In my fourth prison trip, with quite a few years left to go, I reached a point where I was very suicidal, and that led me to humility. Eventually, the humility to go out to finally say, I don't care what anybody thinks. I'm just going to go get some help if it's going to work. I didn't know if it'd work or not, and I asked for. I waved the white flag, if you will.
Yeah.
And I asked for some medication, or I asked for some help with my depression, and I ended up with medication that actually gave me, between the humility and the medication, and then the subsequent education that came from going to drafting school while I was in prison, I just started finding freedom in my mind that I'd never experienced. And you might as well, you know, I was freer than most of the people who were watching me, the guards and so forth.
Wow.
The mind is where it's at, you
right.
know? And so I started really enjoying my education. It blew me away. I was so excited and focused.
So describe that feeling to me, because I'm listening to your story and you're telling me this is your fourth time in prison, and you hit that point of humility and you're like, okay, you said white flag. I'm done. I'm just done. And you got the medication. You walked through that. Describe for me that feeling when you first realized that there was hope for something different. Like maybe your life didn't have to continue going this way.
It was like a light went on, you know. I all of a sudden realized it wasn't about making money. It wasn't about anything material. It was entirely this great freedom in my mind to go, look, I can do whatever I want to do, and have fun at it and enjoy it. It's like all of a sudden, all the great things that I'd ever learned in my life started meaning something. You know, you read the self-help books and so on.
Right.
You know, all the little wisdom books you read, all of a sudden they click.
Yeah.
And those principles are there. Those principles are right there to be grabbed onto and just focus on and make something happen. It was real simple because I just started enjoying the journey. The journey started being this cool. It's just everything I did was fun, you know.
So you were finding joy in life, and that wasn't the case before.
It wasn't at all. There was the up and down before, and then, but at this point, it was pretty much just even kill, kind of a passion for life, and a total passion for life, where I was creating when I was in the drafting school in prison. It was the first time I realized I had some intelligence, you know,
Whoa.
I was like, okay, I can pretty much do. I started out, I didn't know computers, and a few of the guys in there actually did know computers, so they were ahead of me. But after I started getting into it, my passion and excitement for it made me just excel.
Yeah.
And I started realizing that, look, it's not really, and it's not about ego and being better than anybody else. It's just about the fun and excitement that, you know, you get from creating. Before I got out, I called my brother, I guess. I called my brother up, and I can't remember the exact, whether it was a letter or, you know, over the phone, but I asked him. It was kind of like, it was really hard for me because I'd given up on being part of that bakery thing, and even the family, you know, everything was like so far away from me. And here was that opportunity. I had to ask my brother, but that humility came in handy again. And I said, you know, I think I could really make something happen if you bring me back to the family business, and just let me get started at the bottom and see what I can do, you know. And, you know, I had visions of doing the same thing that I did as a drafter, making bread. And so that's what I did. He said, yeah, come on back. I know he was apprehensive about it because, you know,
Sure.
I'd done a lot of screwing up,
Sure.
screwing people over and stuff. And I eventually, you know, got out basically 2005, late 2004, and went to work creating or, you know, fixing up some of the products that needed some updating. That's the first thing I did, while I was also daylighting as a production line worker. And
wow.
I believe it was $10 an hour at the time. And I was just happy. You know, I didn't need a lot of money. I didn't have a place to stay because, you know, except my mom's house. And my mom gave me her garage, and that's where I stayed, and it was perfect.
Yeah, happy as a lark at
that's
that point.
all I
huh?
needed.
Yeah.
And so I lived there for a while, but that's where I got started. Eventually making Dave's Killer Bread at the bakery, but it wasn't like, let's make Dave's Killer Bread. It was like, let's make some new products for the bakery. And It just happened so fast. Once I started making the bread, I couldn't even make bread at first. I really didn't know anything.
Yeah.
But I was working my fanny off and making it happen, and it was a blast. I mean, I'd never expected the kind of success that I got from it. I was just like, okay, let's try this. Let's see what people think, and just keep enjoying the journey again, and I didn't expect it just to kind of like, okay, people ask how long it took to create the bread. Only a couple of months, but the reality is it took 43 years. That's how old. It's been a whirlwind.
It sounds like it.
There's been national TV, several national TV stories, lots of local press, media, all different kinds of media, everything from Seattle to and Bellingham, even to San Francisco, and in Idaho, and so it's been a blessing, if you will.
Yeah.
I've been just very fortunate. Sometimes the stress of it is a little tough. It does take its toll on you to have success, and then you become a target for certain people who aren't happy about your success. Especially some people don't like ex-felons coming out and doing well. It's like you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But overall, I mean, it's
99.9%
positive, and I make money now.
Which is nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not really.
It's got to feel good.
I didn't set out to do that, though.
Yeah.
And that's a key point to let people know that if you're trying to be successful, it shouldn't be about, hey, I want to go make some money. It should be about, get passionate about something and enjoy it, whether it makes me a ton of money or not. If it gets me by and I'm happy, that's what's important. Well, I think the best thing to realize is it will pass, and if you focus your mind, it's your next thought is going to change your life to some degree. You choose your next thought. If a thought comes in your mind that's not constructive, then you get rid of it, and just keep. If you can train your mind to think positively and constructively, and think about how powerful your thoughts are, you can eventually. You not only will you enjoy the journey, which is important, because even if you're in pain and your circumstances are not good, you can, in your mind, make it okay. You can say, well, this is I'm going through this right now. This is something I'm going through. I'm a good person. I have something to offer, and I will get here. I will get where I want to be, and you will.